Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X research and professional physicist. And today I'd like to bring to you another one of my articles. This one is entitled Planet X and the Floating Cities in the Earth's Atmosphere. Now, in recent years, there have been some reports of floating cities appearing amongst the clouds in the sky. These cities have been photographed and seen by thousands of people in China on at least 2 occasions. These cities were too high up in the sky to be connected to the ground and could not have been mirages, as mirages occur due to heat rising from a hot surface, such as in the desert, not up in the sky or the clouds. In addition, the cities were photographed by many people from many different angles. This makes it impossible that these were the product of a mirage, as a mirage cannot be photographed from different angles because it is not a real 3-dimensional object. And here you can see some images of these floating cities. This one is from 2015, and this is from a television report. And this one is from 2017. It looks very similar, or it seems to be at about the same altitude, but it could actually be 2 cities side by side. So these were photographed by thousands of people. And here's that same city from 2017, and here's seen from another angle. So obviously this was definitely not a mirage. And here's a more detailed image of that city in the sky over China in 2015. And notice the colors. There's greenery. There seems to be greenery around the buildings. And there are also outlines beyond the city, above there, over there, there, and there. So it looks like there may actually have been other structures floating in the sky with buildings on them. Now, these cities in the sky have also been observed in China in 2011 and in Africa. But now the understanding that the Planet X system of stellar cores is made up of dead stars, planets, and moons, which have been coming into the solar system for thousands of years, provides an explanation for the existence of these floating cities. Planet X system objects come in as comets, and you may look at Article 367 entitled Planet X coming in as comets and affecting the Earth. So they've been coming in for thousands of years. Comets have been observed for thousands of years. The largest ones, the largest stellar cores will be dead stars, and the smaller ones dead planets and moons. The dead planets are now a planetary core surrounded by a debris field, which contains a lot of dust and large rocks, which are just broken pieces of the outer layers of the planets. In other words, broken planet pieces. This dust and larger pieces of rock have therefore been entering our atmosphere for thousands of years. And this diagram illustrates what occurs. So if you have a planet with a core, outer layers, mainly rock, although it may have a molten layer somewhere between the core and the solid surface, but it will have a solid surface, so you'll have solid rock as its outer layers, and then it has an atmosphere. So when it breaks up, it becomes a planetary core and lots of broken pieces around it, which is a debris field. And you may look at Article 455 entitled Dying Stars Lose Their Planets and Become Stellar Cores or Comets for more details. So Planet X system planets are dead because they are energy depleted. They have lost the ability to generate gravitational photon energy, which makes them have a low gravitational influence on other objects and their own matter, which is also why the planet broke apart. Rock under pressure and compressed by additional layers above remained in place because of the planet's own gravitational attraction. When the gravitational attraction stopped because the planet's photon energy disappeared, the internal pressure caused the planet to break into pieces, forming a cloud of debris around the planetary core. The debris is now low in gravitational energy, even even lower than the core, and as a result will remain suspended in the Earth's atmosphere once it enters. The pieces and dust which originated from the interior of the planet will be positively charged and will attract water molecules, leading to cloud formation. The dust absorbs gravitational energy from the water, which condenses and leads to rain. And you may look at Article 509 entitled Planet X Intricately Involved in Earth's Rain Cycle for more details on that. Larger pieces will also enter the atmosphere and remain suspended in the atmosphere, and if they are positively charged, they will too attract water molecules and clouds will form around the rock. But being much larger in size, they will take much longer to absorb enough energy to reach the surface of the Earth, perhaps thousands of years. They thus become a platform in the atmosphere, so for someone who has the technology to get up there to construct a city on this floating piece of rock. And this is illustrated here how the gravitational energy of a planet, so for the Earth, increases with depth. So it increases in this direction, as indicated by this red arrow. And it decreases with altitude. So any matter in the atmosphere has much less gravitational energy than matter inside the Earth. Now, matter with less gravitational energy than typical solid matter that usually, if it's Earth matter, which would be found at the Earth's surface or below, will not be able to reach the surface. It will remain suspended in the atmosphere at the correct altitude for the gravitational energy that it has. So if there's a rock with gravitational energy V low, which is less than V surface for the planet, it will remain suspended in the atmosphere until it has absorbed enough energy to reach the surface. And if it's very large, that will take a long time. So it will remain suspended for a very long time, perhaps thousands of years. Notice that even old children's stories, such as Jack and the Beanstalk, which mention a city in the clouds in which giants dwell, told us that there were cities in the skies. Nowadays, children's stories in the form of cartoons continue to tell us the same thing. It is, of course, the aliens that have been on our planet for thousands of years as well that would have had the technology to fly up to these floating rocks and construct cities on them. And here you see some of these cartoons in which we see these cities, and they are in the clouds. As you can see, this looks like two levels of rock, one above the other, and cloud has formed around. You can see the cloud is pink as well, and pink cloud is of course associated to Planet X dust. If it absorbs more green light than other colors, then it will look pink. Nowadays they make clouds in cartoons pink in order to also get people used to the idea that clouds are pink. And here you see another one, another rock floating in the atmosphere. There's cloud around it. Obviously a city has been constructed. It seems like a large piece because it looks large here. It does not seem to have buildings all over it, but you would expect to whoever got there to use every piece of ground to construct something on eventually. And here you see another one. This one is actually a spherical rock, which would most likely therefore be an actual, small, although there seem to be lots of buildings on it. It's still small, but it's basically a moon core, or a very small stellar core that was most likely once the core of a planet or a moon, but it's quite small, so most likely a moon core. Now, large stellar cores seem to disrupt the Earth's internal. I'm not saying that this is real. This is obviously from a cartoon, but the ideas that are presented in cartoons come, it seems, from reality, because we do see that these cities are in the sky, as we saw above from China. Now, large stellar cores seem to disrupt the Earth's internal positive electric field enough to cause volcanic eruptions and earthquakes. The Earth's response to these objects' presence is thus likely to cause them to be ejected from the Earth's atmosphere, just like the sun's reaction, which led to CME events, led to the larger of these objects being ejected from the sun's corona. And you may look at Article 505 entitled Planet X Creating Earthquakes by Inducing Positive Plasma Current Flows. So the largest stellar cores will most likely be ejected from the Earth's atmosphere, but the smaller ones are not disruptive enough to the Earth's internal positive electric field, which leads to volcanic eruptions and earthquakes and result in the objects being ejected. They may thus be a lot like another large piece of debris or large rock, which once inside the Earth's atmosphere remains suspended inside the atmosphere, slowly absorbing energy from the Earth by attracting water molecules, which covers them in clouds. They will slowly lose altitude over perhaps thousands of years and will eventually reach the surface. But even then, they would be extremely light, and it would be easy to move them and build structures with them on the surface, which may provide an explanation for the use of huge stones in the construction of some ancient structures. So in conclusion, the Planet X system of stellar core seems to be closely linked to cities in the sky, as only low gravitational rocks, which are actually broken pieces of planets and which once belonged to the Planet X system, would remain suspended in the Earth's atmosphere and thus provide a platform for the building of floating cities in the skies. And these are the references. This is Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X physicist. Thank you for watching.